I've officially stopped buying bagels in the shops, and this is why. I have finally cracked how to make them at home. And yes, I am boiling them. Now, I might be getting a bit ahead of myself, but as I've cracked the base recipe, I'm going to try and spice up the dough this time with some different flavors to make them a little bit more interesting. So let's get started. Now, first things first, you need to make the bagel dough, which is pretty simple. You just take your strong bread flour, yeast, some salt, some sugar, and warm water, and you knead for about 5 minutes or so until smooth. Now, I was lazy. I'll hold my hands up. I did do this in the Thermomix, but you could do it by hand, and you then leave it for an hour to prove, where hopefully it will double in size. Now, mine has just finished proving, so let's see how it looks. I will hold my hands up and say I am really not very good at making bread. So the fact that I cracked this first time was a miracle to me. So I'm hoping I have similar success this time. So let's see how it has risen. Perfect. I'm pretty delighted with that. It looks similar to how it looked last time. So I feel like that's a good sign. Now I'm going to shape it into little balls, poke a hole in the middle of each of them, and leave them to rest. But the difference this time is I'm going to add some exciting different fillings and see how they work. So I've cracked the basic bagel dough, and I thought I'd give some extra flavors a go. So I've sliced up some jalapenos, and my plan is to grate a little bit of cheddar, and I will pair that with some paprika as well. Now, I do need to sprinkle some chili flakes on the top so that I don't accidentally give one of these to the kids, because they would not thank me for that. So I am really not very good at making bread. It's not my forte. But I do like to experiment. So I thought this is a good chance to try experimenting. And you know what? Some of these might not work. With the sun-dried tomatoes, I am going to pat these dry a little bit with some kitchen towel, just because I'm no bread expert, but I probably don't want lots of extra liquid in the dough. So I'm just going to pat this down to try and soak up some of the oil and the liquid. If you're new to my channel, I like to make different lunchbox and snack recipes alongside doing batch cooking, just to try and save me time when I'm making the packed lunches, and just to make our lunch food and our snacks a little bit more exciting. We're trying to buy less packaged snacks from the shop, and so having a go at making them myself has been a really fun experiment so far. I'm going to chop up some olives now. And again, I might pat these dry too. Now, alongside experimenting with food, I am also experimenting a little bit with my YouTube. So sometimes I do shorts. I like to do the odd post every now and then. And I'm still getting my head around that long form content. So this video is a slightly different style, with maybe a little bit less editing than my other ones. And I'm interested to see what you make of it. I was so proud when I first made these bagels, as they really did turn out a lot better than I was expecting them to. So I'm quite excited to see how these flavor combinations turn out. I've just mixed up this as well. This seasoning will go on top of some of the plain bagels. And it's really simple. It's just some sesame seeds, some nigella seeds, and some onion and garlic granules mixed up. This will just get sprinkled onto the top of some of my plain bagels. When I started trying to learn how to give recipes like this a go, I found buying one of these plastic scrapers to be really useful, as it just makes it easier to handle the dough. So I've got my different fillings. I'm just going to go through and give the bagels a little knead just to incorporate these extra fillings into them. Then I'm going to roll them into the bagel shape. So I'll get them into ball shape like that and just poke a little hole in the middle. And then that will go to rest for a little bit longer. I might actually leave them to rest for a little bit longer than I did the first time, because obviously they've now got fillings in them. I think I might have been a bit too generous with the sun-dried tomatoes and olives here on this one. Last but not least, the jalapenos and cheddar. I feel like this combo could be quite good. So my channel has been posting long form content for about 5 months now, and I really, really appreciate everybody's support, because you might have guessed by now I'm no chef, but I do like experimenting with different recipes. I love batch cooking and making fun things for my family, and I really appreciate all the suggestions that I get in the comments, as they're really, really useful. And that's why I'm making these bagels. Actually, that's why I cracked the recipe, because a few people last time I made bagels said, you've just got to boil them. It's not that hard. And actually it isn't. So I'm always learning, and thank you very much for everybody that does take the time to leave a comment. These are all now done, and they will be left to sit for a little bit longer before I boil them. I hate wasting food, so I do have some leftover fillings that I overestimated. And then I'm actually going to turn them into a really tasty omelette to go in one of the bagels that I've made. So I'm going to bring this pan of water to the boil, and I've added in some of this sugar as well. Whilst this gets up to temperature, I thought I'd show you how the bagels are looking. Now, it's interesting. If you see the ones at the front, they don't have any filling. Then we've got the cheese and jalapeno. Then we've got the ones with lots of filling at the back. It's interesting to see which have risen the best in their resting time. Now the water's boiling, I'm adding in my bagels, and they will cook for 30 seconds on each side. So you can see they've started to puff up a little bit, and that's when I am turning them. Now look, my shaping is not the prettiest in the world, but they're homemade bagels. I feel like I can finesse the shaping once I've got to grips with the basics of cooking them. I quite like this spoon because I can drain some of the liquid off before I pop them on the oven tray. So now I'm going to try the cheese and jalapeno ones before they go in the oven. So now I'm going to try the sun-dried tomato and olive ones. I'm not sure if these will hold together because the dough has split slightly open. Yeah, they're definitely not holding their shape as well as the other ones. Like that one has like completely started to unravel. Now I've realized at this point that I have really done this in the wrong order, because look, I've got all of the remnants of the flavored ones in here, and I want to cook my cinnamon raisin ones. So I think I'm going to refresh my water and then pop those ones in. Now the bagels are ready to have their toppings. So I've mixed up an egg wash at the top. Just going to brush it onto the top of each of the bagels. So on my plain bagels, I've got my seasoning that I made earlier. I'm just going to sprinkle a bit of that over the top. On my jalapeno ones, I'm just going to put a little bit of paprika. And then on the sun-dried tomato ones, I thought I'd put a little sprinkling of oregano. And the cinnamon raisin ones, I'm just going to leave those as is. So these are now ready to go into the oven. Whilst they cook, I need to tackle the mess that is this kitchen. So the bagels have come out of the oven. And as you can see, starting from here, these are the ones that don't have anything in the dough, just topping. As we go along to the cheddar and jalapeno, the olive and tomato, and the raisin, you'll notice that the bagels are not as plump and they haven't risen as well. So once these have cooled, it's going to be really interesting to see what they look like on the inside and what they taste like. So the bagels are out of the oven and they're cool, and I'm going to slice into them and see what they look like on the inside. This is the bagel that didn't have any filling in it, and it's got a lovely texture inside. I'm really pleased with that. Now, this is the cheese and jalapeno one. Right, let's see. Now look, can you see where the cheese and jalapenos have been? The dough is a little bit wetter, the melted cheese and the brine from the jalapenos. And actually, they're not distributed as well as I'd hoped they would, but we'll give it a taste and I'm sure it'll be delicious. Next up, I have very low hopes for this one, the sun-dried tomato, but let's see. So, now actually, they're not as doughy as I thought they would be in the middle. So I'll give this a taste. We'll see how these are. And finally, the cinnamon and raisin ones. There we go. I'm really pleased with that. That looks good. And I think the key takeaway here is the more liquid I'm adding, the lower chance of success that I have with the bagels. Now, before I taste these, I think it's worth noting that I actually hate people watching me eat. And so this is a major milestone that I'm filming myself tasting something. So I'm going to give the sun-dried tomato and olive ones a try. They taste really nice. And they actually do have the chewy texture of a bagel. They're not as doughy as I thought they were going to be. So actually, although there is a bit of moisture on the inside, I actually feel like they've turned out okay. The recipe could be improved, but that was less doughy than I was expecting. Right, the cheese and jalapeno ones. I'm looking forward to tasting this. Now, they taste amazing. I feel like I might have been too generous with the jalapenos. There was no chance my children are going to want to go anywhere near these. But yeah, these actually, despite me worrying about the doughiness, they come out okay too. I'm glad I put the cheese in there because they are fiery. But I think with my scrambled egg filling, they should be quite nice. Let's try the cinnamon and raisin. Now, my fear with these is that I probably should have been a bit more generous with the cinnamon. It'd be interesting to see what the cinnamon flavor's like. Those are so tasty, but definitely need a little bit more cinnamon next time. But the fruit has gone so juicy in that. They're going to absolutely love having those for breakfast tomorrow. And then finally, the plain bagel. That's really tasty. I'm glad I took them out of the oven when I did because it just started to catch on the top. So I think if I was to make these again, I would probably keep a better eye on them than I did in this video. But these taste really good. But the onion and the garlic, the onion seeds and the sesame seeds, that actually works really well. So do you know what? I'm actually really pleased with that. There are some learnings to be had. There are some fine-tuning things I could do to each of these bagels, but they taste pretty good and will add some fun variety to our lunches. If you liked watching this video, I try lots of different snacks recipes on my channel, and I also love doing batch cooking and filling my freezer with dinners, lunchbox fillers, and treats as well. So please be sure to check out the other videos on my channel. And if you have cracked making bagels, especially those with fillings, please be sure to share your wisdom with me in the comments, as I'm definitely going to give this a second go.